All right. Welcome back to the More to Us podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about new shows to watch. Shows to watch. Some of them are going to be newer. Some of them are going to be older.
In my case, I think most of them are going to be older.
I got some new ones that I think I could put some people onto.
Okay, I'm excited to hear. I need something because what I'm currently watching is pretty old.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you watching right now?
The X-Files.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I got started on that. I think I'm only on like episode 6 right now.
Fox Mulder, Dana Scully, classic characters. If we were our age in 1995, they would be what Game of Thrones is now. That's what it was.
I do
That's
remember
what it was.
X-Files being really big back in the
Huge,
day.
huge. So
Yeah.
big that it has 2 movies. So it originally aired in 1990, I think was the start date. Early 90s. Has 2 movies, one of which came out in 2008. The show ended in 2003 or 4, right? So 2008 came back, got its own movie, like hit the theaters, box office success. And then in the late 2010s, came back again on a 2-season limited run. So it was 1 season in something like 2018 or 16, and then 2 years later came back again in 2018. I mean, so that
Really?
goes to show you what kind of following the X-Files has.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It really does.
I mean, just imagine Game of Thrones 20 years from now.
So
Fan base is still there.
I definitely like it. For any of our viewers that have that inkling of, is there more out there? Are there aliens? I definitely think that X-Files is something for you.
Hey, bro, the truth is out there.
The truth is out
That's
there.
what they say. Every opening intro sequence, that's how it ends. The truth is out there. Fox Mulder, also one of the greatest television characters of all time.
I love how he, like, even though nobody believes him, he's just like, he just rocks with it. He's like,
Spooky Mulder. That's his nickname.
yeah.
What cracks me up about that show is, so Mulder is, he's out there. He believes in extraterrestrials. He believes in the paranormal. And Scully she's a scientist. She's a doctor. So everything is, in her mind, is scientific.
Right.
How she breaks everything down in her head. So anytime they're on an X-file is an unexplained FBI file, which in most cases is some type of extraterrestrial or just paranormal explanation. And every single time Scully jumps to the scientific, the most logical scientific explanation, and Mulder's like, no, it's a shapeshifter. And Mulder's like, or Scully is always to Mulder, what are you talking about? And
So,
sure enough,
that
Mulder
is-
is right 99% of the time.
That's one of the annoying things about the early on episodes. It's
It's not the early on episodes. It's every episode ever.
Oh,
Scully
really?
jumps to the most scientific conclusion
Because I'm like,
that she can.
I'm like I said, I'm about 6, probably 10 episodes deep in the show, and like I'm already to the point that I'm like, Scully, like,
See,
come on, you've been on enough of these to know, like, not all these are easily explained by science.
I'm with you. I love Scully though. She does kind of come. She does believe to an extent, but she never wants to say it out loud. But it gets to the point where it's just hilarious. There's an episode where Mulder even approaches her, and he's like, Scully, every single time you come at me with this, and it always ends up being, I'm right 100% of the time, and it's always something paranormal, something that cannot be explained.
So one of the things that kind of, like, for me, is like, she's like, well, it's not scientific. With that in mind, aliens are still scientific. Like, it's just science we don't understand.
That's the thing. That's the whole point of the show. It's we have no grounds for that.
Right.
That's not something we've encountered before. So it's just hard for her to wrap her mind around it. But X-Files, if you get the itch to look up anything about aliens, extraterrestrials, anything paranormal, go watch X-Files. Not only does it cover pretty much anything you've ever seen as far as paranormal goes, it's one of the best shows of all time. You have X-Files to thank for so many shows. I don't even know where to begin. X-Files is top 10 television show of all time.
There was, I mean, and to its credit, it actually is like a very well done show.
Dude,
like they didn't, cheap out on it in the
Chris Carter.
so.
Yeah, bro, it's one of the first real shows. You know how we take shows in now, the way they're kind of structured out. The X-Files is one of the first to do that. Not Sopranos, which we love, obviously, but yeah, the X-Files is one of the first real television shows that kind of follows modern television standards with the season-long story arcs and just shit like that. But watch out for X-Files. That'd be mine. Neil, what about you?
So I don't. The one I'm watching right now that is currently piqued my interest to a very high degree is Star Trek Enterprise. Actually, the early 2000s Star Trek. It follows Jonathan Archer, the first captain to take them into space and everything. This is before the Federation, before you get Chris Pine's Captain Kirk and all that.
I like those movies. Those are good movies.
I gotta say they cover. So to go on the alien part of X-Files, they actually cover a lot. They cover. If you thought Star Wars was good, I would definitely suggest checking out Star Trek because it covers so much more ground on interstellar travel and all of the intricacies of different. I want to different races, different groups of people.
Wait, who thought Star Wars was good? Which one?
So I mean, I
pay attention
honestly,
to Star Wars.
I honestly like Star Wars top to bottom, and that's not what this episode's about. But I even all the stuff that they talk about in Star Wars that they like, even the ones that people didn't like, I still liked. But to get back to Star Trek, they just include so much, like the ignorance of the human race to how other people live, the moral quandaries that would come up in those situations and stuff like that. It's really well done. I don't know what kind of budget they were working with. Obviously, Star Trek Enterprise came out in the early 2000s, so you may look back at it and be like, oh, this is kind of cheesy. Keep in mind, they're doing all of this without CGI. They're doing, they needed sets, stuff like that, and it's really well done. It gives you a lot to think about from the perspective of, like, when we start traveling through space, because so Enterprise comes right after we discover warp speed.
Okay.
So Star Trek Enterprise is the first deep space expedition that we do.
So hold on. The Star Trek Enterprise take place before or after the Star Trek that I and probably the audience knows, like
before
Captain Kirk.
Before all of
Spock
that,
and
even
everybody?
before. Yeah, I was gonna say even before William Shatner and all that.
That's what I'm saying. Captain Kirk,
Yeah,
Spock.
all of that. It takes place. This is before the Federation exists, and we have a set of rules on how to
and
interact.
Professor X, right? The guy in X-Men is one of the main characters.
Yeah, I believe he plays Picard. Don't
He's the
quote
captain,
me on
right?
that.
He's the
Yeah, I
captain?
think it's
Yeah.
Captain Picard. This is all before that. This is chronologically, this takes place before the rest of those series.
Okay.
And I mean, it's fantastic. I'm almost one season deep now. I think I'm like 4 episodes off of the season finale. And so there's 4 seasons to it. It's an amazing show. From what I understand, season 4 is a little bit but from what I've seen so far, you have a lot of like the classic, like what would it be like to go into deep space and try and find out about different civilizations and stuff like that. So that would be one of my older recommendations. Obviously, we both like X-Files. But this definitely plays. If you like X-Files, I think this is kind of like a step further.
Beyond, yeah.
Yeah. But it there. I mean, there's so many. Like, if you end up liking Star Trek Enterprise, there's so much.
I know that
to
there's
go
so
off
many
of.
Star Trek. There's so many different shows, so many different.
That is true.
Like timelines. I mean, obviously you have the movies, you have the original series.
Right.
There's a new series going on, which I believe still
Correct.
has Professor X. I think it's a continuation.
Picard is on
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
You have Star Trek Discovery, which is the newest. I don't know chronologic wise where it's at, but it's the newest one, so it probably has the most up to date graphics and stuff like that. But I'm on Star Trek Enterprise right now, and it's fantastic. I think that they do a perfect job of like just the headspace humans would be at when they get to that point, and they just, I mean, they capture a lot of what would probably happen in reality if we did that. You have so many different issues that arise, like difference in faith, difference in belief systems. They had an episode about hunting, kind of, and in the episode they say like, "Oh, we've done away with hunting on Earth for over 100 years now," or something, and it definitely raises the issue of like where humanity will go and everything like that. Lost up here would also be one of my recommendations.
Lost is good.
Lost is an amazing show. That show poses a lot of questions about like what would happen if you dropped a group of people on an island and they just had to survive, right?
I don't know if you know this, in the very first episode when they're dealing with the plane wreckage and people are falling into like the engine turbines. If you go back and watch it in slow motion, there's smoke pushing them into it. Black smoke. Remember the smoke?
Really?
Yes. I mean, me and my dad watched that. I was a kid at that point, but if you go back and watch it in slow motion, there's black smoke just like fucking around with people.
That's crazy.
And the one that comes to mind is them pushing them into the engine turbine. But if you go back and watch it in slow motion, once again, you can see the black smoke all throughout the screen.
Lost is a bit of a whodunit too.
Yeah, Lost is great. It kind of has that Game of Thrones syndrome where nobody enjoyed the finale because it was terrible. It was rushed. But I forget how many seasons there are, but if there's 7 seasons, 6 of them are fantastic.
I
love
and
Lost.
we keep
Sawyer
talking
is
about
my favorite character.
Oh, I love Sawyer.
Sawyer.
That
and
is
Kate,
a guy.
Kate.
That is a Evangeline Lilly is a childhood crush of mine.
Yep, same.
Still have it. Keep talking about Game of Thrones. I would definitely, if you haven't
go
seen,
watch Game of Thrones. If you haven't seen it, obviously watch it.
If you're not interested in Game of Thrones, check out House of the Dragon. Everything that we wanted with Game of Thrones came in House of the Dragon so far.
As in what? Explain. Like the fast pace?
It's faster paced, more dragons, more
Way
carnage.
More dragons. I wouldn't say more action, not yet at least.
More carnage.
But it's coming.
More carnage for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Daemon screams it.
You had a lot of one-off killings in Game of Thrones where it was like, Ned Stark, other people. I don't want to spoil too much, but
I mean, maybe a spoiler if you haven't seen it yet. This is your warning, but House of the Dragon, I swear they kill off 4 kind of main characters within 10 minutes. Just bang, bang, bang.
So, I mean, there's a lot in it. It's a faster paced storyline, all of that. Check out House of the Dragons if you haven't. It's it's brand new, just finished the first season. Um, it's Game of Thrones, but they kind of give us a little bit more of what we wanted and a lot less of the slower paced. It's still there. The behind the scenes action, the Varys's, the Peter Baelishes, they're still there.
Mm-hmm.
They're still, acting, and it. I mean, it gives you what you want. If you didn't like Game of Thrones, you might like House of the Dragon more. To be honest with you,
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're the same show. So
not at
give
all.
it a watch.
You don't need to watch Game of Thrones to watch House of the Dragon. That's for sure.
It's a prequel, 200 years before. It would
Right.
help, but yeah.
It's not necessary.
Tell you what, man, and this isn't our top 5 shows of all time. That's coming. We have our dearly missed co-host back.
That is very true.
Yep.
Eli's not here right now. As you guys see, there's only 2 of us.
But great show is 6 Feet Under. Has Michael C. Hall, main character of Dexter, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen. I know you've seen some of it.
Yeah, I'm over halfway through Dexter. Great show.
Dexter's fantastic, but 6 Feet Under, it's about a family who owns a funeral home, and every single episode starts out with whoever their next client is. It starts off with them dying.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've even heard of 6 Feet Under.
6 Feet Under aired from, I don't know exactly, but early 2000s. There's 4 or 5 seasons, but awesome show. Fantastic show.
I might have to check that out.
Dude, it's so good. HBO, if that tells you anything. Was on the same,
Really?
was on during the same time that Sopranos was. But yeah, family owns a funeral home. It's just about them operating it, all the troubles that come with doing that, and every episode starts dark.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I love it.
with a death.
Well, going to those like kind of high budget shows, Sopranos.
The goat.
Where we need to go this way.
Oh, it's in my head. But yes.
I went the wrong way at first, but Sopranos actually, I haven't finished it yet. I don't remember how far we got. Pretty
You
far.
haven't finished it yet?
Yeah, we got to like
You've
season.
only had,
I know,
I don't know, 15 years to
but when you showed
finish it?
when you showed it to me, we only got to season like
Yeah, we did try to
5.
watch it. We did try to watch it together.
we only got to season 5,
Yeah.
and now I kind of want to go back and watch it all the way through by my
Yeah,
1
yeah.
through, I forget how many seasons there are. It's an amazing show though. Tony Soprano,
I
one
believe
of
there's
the
6.
all-time.
Oh,
I think we got to season 4 then. Tony Soprano is one of the all-time GOAT characters. Tony Soprano, he was one of the originals where
hey, you're Flangul.
he was one of those guys that so you watch people watch the Dahmer, right? And they're talking about, I feel bad for him, right? Okay, Tony Soprano was a mob boss, but you see the pressures of what it does to somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think The Sopranos is a fantastic show. It's very well done. Little dated now, but
Well, I don't know.
I mean dated in the fact that you're gonna go back and watch it. And
You're gonna
it's
go back and watch it, and they're
it's-
gonna have cell phones with antennas,
right.
but nothing is
Older
dated.
cars.
Yeah, I mean that's it.
That's what I mean by dated in this case. But it's a absolutely fantastic show. You rave about it.
Dude.
You rave about it.
Yeah, I'll save my thoughts on Sopranos for another
Yeah, we
time.
gotta.
Sopranos. If you haven't seen Sopranos, what are you doing? If you've never even seen an episode, but you've watched the new Dahmer series, that's what's wrong with. You know what? I digress.
You know what? An older show that I really enjoyed, Spartacus.
Oh, you like
Now-
Spartacus? I
yeah,
love Spartacus.
We differ.
How?
Where we differ, I don't know if you remember this. We had this discussion. I prefer Andy Whitfield's Spartacus.
I mean, I do too.
I thought you liked the new
No,
guy.
I
I thought
came-
the new
I
guy
came-
was definitely a fall off from Andy Whitfield's
I
Spartacus.
came to love the new guy. So the first season you have Andy Whitfield.
Right.
The
It's a
second
3-season show. I think it's three seasons.
four if you count the prequel.
No.
The prequel's gas.
Get out of my face with that.
The prequel is Gannicus, Animaeus. Obviously, you have what's the
Gannicus is awesome.
Gannicus is awesome, and he's introduced.
So is
in the
Animaeus.
prequel.
And Animaeus. I'm not gonna lie. Animaeus is my boy. But Spartacus is actually a. Did you know? I don't know if you know this. It's based on a true story.
Yeah, Spartacus.
Which is probably why the ending
What's the guy's
hurt a
name
lot
who-
of people.
What's the dude's name who owns the Warriors, the Gladiators?
The first dude, the one
He's in
who's like
season-
constantly talking about like.
He owns them.
I-
He's married to the
You
redhead
remember
chick.
I don't remember that dude's name.
Oh no, Batiatus.
Yes.
Batiatus. Batiatus is one of the greatest TV characters ever, and he's
Yep.
in the first and the second season. You don't like the second season? I know. Yeah, the gods are always doing something to him. It's
Classic
it's
lines
hilarious.
in there.
But yeah, man, don't sleep on season 2. Season 2 might be one of the
It's
best.
not.
Seasons.
It's
Spartacus
first of all,
isn't in it.
I just want to say this: Andy Whitfield, R.I.P.
Yeah, dude. Rest in
The
peace.
reason he got replaced is because he
died. Yeah, cancer.
Um,
Watch his documentary. I forget what it's called. Go
He
watch
was an
his documentary.
amazing actor,
He was, and he had his breakout role. Spartacus was big,
right?
and so you had the first season of Spartacus, which was amazing. Then you have the prequel, which was also great in its own respect, but it's not Spartacus. And then it comes back in season 3 with a new actor. He's okay. He's okay in season 3. I think by season 4, it's not Andy Whitfield, but if you see the job that Andy Whitfield does, I mean that's dude, those are huge shoes to fill, but he does a great job. Spartacus,
He made Spartacus his own, which is something that I liked
didn't
about
really-
him. He didn't try to play off Andy Whitfield's Spartacus.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. But he did. I don't think he tried to do too much either.
Right. He didn't try to cement himself as like, oh, I'm gonna be Spartacus. He
Yep.
came in, filled the shoes, didn't try to create his own, pathway and everything like that. So it definitely it's a different Spartacus, but the fact that he didn't come in with the intention of being like, I'm Spartacus now.
Yep. Yeah, I'll say this though: Spartacus is the best. Not okay. Is one of the best series finales of a television show ever. You will not. It's not like Game of Thrones where you watch it and you're like,
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The
you're
ending to
amped.
it,
You're amped after you watch Spartacus.
yeah, that is very true.
One of the best finales ever. So it will not let you down in any way. Every season is fire. Every season is good, and the ending is great. So
A show I just watched. This is kind of a newer one. The Devil's Hour.
I've never heard of that.
So it's on I believe it's on Prime. It's a Prime original if I remember correctly. But so it has to do with kind of like alternate timelines and stuff in a way.
Quantum Leap.
It's only 6 parts in the first episode, or in the first season, I mean, and albeit the ending, it's not. I mean, we've talked about this though with like other series that doing those very limited single digit seasons is kind of greedy with the timeline. This is one of those, but as far as like keep you guessing, keep you on your heels, you're not really knowing what's going on. It's a good one. It's a good one.
Okay.
I would recommend it. I just finished it, the first season.
How are you watching?
I watched it on Prime.
Okay, Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think it's a Prime original. But it was definitely like, it was one of those shows that kind of kept you guessing until the end, and then it was like, pshh, and now I gotta wait for season 2.
Okay. If I had to name one last one for a recommendation, limited series 11/22/63, based off a Stephen King novel with James Franco. Dude, it's so good. It's only one season, but it's about, he lives in the modern, James Franco is the main character. He lives in the modern day, and He goes to this diner all the time. It's one of his best friends. But like the closet to the diner, when you walk into it, you pop out in 11/22/63. So November 22nd, 1963 is when you come out. And the whole show is about him coming out of there. Is that when JFK was assassinated or where he comes out? I can't recall. But the whole premise of the show is him walking into that diner closet. He comes out and his objective is to prevent John F. Kennedy from being assassinated.
Ooh, I've never heard of that. I'm gonna
And
have
yeah,
to check
he
that
goes
out.
in, he dies multiple times, but essentially it's supposed to change history for the better. And such a good show, man. Such a good show. I mean, Stephen King does what he does, obviously. Great book. I've read it. Go check that out if you haven't already. But go watch that. I believe it's Amazon Prime. It might be Hulu. I watched it a while ago, but
I'm gonna make sure
awesome show.
I'm gonna make sure you plug one of your favorite all times. Go ahead. It's up there.
Dexter.
Oh, I was in.
Who are we talking
I
about?
forgot about
No, no,
Dexter.
no, let's
Dexter. Dexter definitely.
We'll
earned-
talk about that later. We'll talk about it later.
Dexter earns a recommendation from both of us. So.
Obviously, we got.
But
you
I'm
soon.
talking about this
Seinfeld?
man right here.
Seinfeld?
Yep.
Jerry. If you haven't seen Seinfeld, there's an episode of Seinfeld for any situation in life.
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of annoying how often we're talking, and then he goes, "There's an episode of Seinfeld about that."
Hey, there's an episode. Yeah, there's an episode for that. Everything. Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David, two of the most
I haven't watched it.
iconic, genius, comedic minds of all time.
Oh yeah,
Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like I was just telling you, there's a reason Seinfeld just sold like 30 years later for $500 million, $500 million to Netflix. There's a reason. So if you haven't seen Seinfeld, get the fuck to it. Okay, you'll laugh your ass off.
I don't have a recommendation for it. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen like a single
what it's
episode. I've seen like maybe 5 minutes of an episode here or there.
The Kramer.
This man raves about it though.
Mm-hmm.
He raves about it. However, I just want to say, to his point, he does say there's a Seinfeld episode about this all the time.
Mhm.
We countless
Everything,
situations,
everything.
even times when I when he says it and I'm like, really? And he goes, oh yeah. And I'm like, I can't believe that here we are 20, whatever years later.
Aired in 1989, ended in 98.
So, I mean, it depends on what episode he's talking about, but 20, 30 years later, this guy has already covered this topic. That's pretty crazy to me. That's
why he's
pretty
a
crazy to me.
billionaire.
For sure. Jerry Seinfeld obviously did his thing. I mean, it was a TV show that people loved for a very long time. So I can't knock it. I just can't give you a recommendation. I haven't seen it. It is something that I'll probably check out eventually, though.
You have to.
I'm going to check
It's on
out that
Netflix
6
now.
Feet
It's
Under.
accessible to everybody.
And what was the other one we were talking about?
X-Files, 6 Feet Under, Seinfeld. That's all I threw out there. Sopranos. You need to rewatch it.
I do need to rewatch Sopranos. But there's a lot of good everything that we gave you has a decent amount of episodes. You're not really going to get committed to a season and
You'll
then
get hooked. Don't
Yeah.
worry. These are all good shows. You can watch front to back. They'll have a good conclusion.
except for Dexter. I don't mind the Game of Thrones conclusion. I don't mind the Game of Thrones conclusion. I'm going to say that a lot of people hate the last season. I think it was just rushed. They closed up a lot of the storylines. It didn't seem bad.
Hey, bro, Seinfeld has
It
the
seemed
worst,
quick.
Seinfeld has the worst series finale of all time. All time. The worst. It doesn't
Go
matter,
ahead.
though. It doesn't
Go
matter.
ahead.
It's
Give
a
us.
comedy.
Go ahead. Give us a spoiler.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Me?
Give us a spoiler.
Me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Um,
It's been off air for over 20 years now. So if
24 years.
So if you haven't seen it, this really isn't that much of a spoiler.
But okay, so what happens? NBC picks up Jerry and George's sitcom. So it's so stupid. In the show, they're pitching a show to NBC about nothing. It's them pitching Seinfeld within the show. Is exactly what it is. Yeah. But so they're traveling. I think they're going to NBC, or they're going to Paris or something. Excuse me.
That's funny.
But they excuse me. But they witness they have to stop and refuel, and they witness a crime take place. They witness this big fat dude get robbed, and they're all sitting back just laughing at the guy. And a police officer walks up and he arrests them because apparently in whatever town they landed in, there's some new law in place to where if you observe a crime and you do nothing to prevent it or stop it, that is a crime. So they arrest Jerry, Kramer, Elaine, and George. They arrest them, and the show ends with them in a jail cell, not making their NBC debut, not getting their show, and they get arrested, and it ends with them just talking in the jail cell.
What?
Yep.
Oh.
I mean,
Salty.
it's a comedy. Who fucking cares how it ends?
Salty.
But yeah.
All right. Well, hey, if you're looking for new shows to watch, we gave you a couple.
Name yours real quick, and I'll name mine. The ones that we said.
I think I pitched Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, The Devil's Hour.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was one more.
Star Trek.
Star Trek Enterprise.
Yep.
Well, all the Star Treks, I haven't watched them though. Star Trek Enterprise is my recommendation of the Star Trek series.
Yeah, and I got Seinfeld, 11/22/63. What else did we touch on?
Sopranos, Lost.
Sopranos, Lost. All right, that's a bunch of. If you haven't seen any of that television, I envy you, because you got a lot of fucking watching to do, and
You got a lot of good
experiences
television in
to
front of you.
Experience. So,
Oh yeah, there's a lot going on in those series.
That's what we're leaving you with. So it's up to you.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to the More to Us podcast. Hopefully you enjoy some of these shows. Let us know what you think.
Yep. We'll see you next time.